Welcome to the Cricket Betting Podcast. I'm Ed Hawkins, and welcome along to your ultimate betting guide to the Big Bash. We are brought to you by 7bet.co.uk, a fresh sports betting brand that offers such features as early payout, bet builder, betting insights, ACCA Boost, and more. Go to 7bet.co.uk and experience world-class betting for yourself. We're doing some world-class betting here on the Cricket Betting Podcast. Our best bets are plus 35.99. And on this show, we will name the winner and the finalists for the Big Bash, courtesy of Paul Krishnamurty and Richard Mann. Paul Krishnamurty is plus 30.7 on those best bets. Are you bash ready, Paul?
Just about, Ed. Just about found enough time in this busy schedule to have a study.
This is the busiest time of the cricket year. It's going to get worse or better depending on your view. But the Bash is our focus today. No Ashes today. That might be a blessing for some. An 11-2 winner for Richard Mann last week on best bets takes him to plus 5.9. Hello, Richard.
Evening, Ed.
Great stuff. If you want more hot tips from Paul, Richard, and myself, and we will be putting up more Bash tips on there in due course. Check out the VIP Telegram channel, which you can subscribe to. We're also in profits over there. Every line game covered. We do in play as well, straight to your Telegram channel on your phone or the device of your choice, of course. So what is on this show? It is the Big Bash Ultimate Betting Guide. Every team analysed in reverse price order. That's to come. Every team rated for batting and bowling power, possible 11s for you, player win rates, trades and angles, the all-important and trademark Paul Krishnamurty ground guide, and player churn, which is a major issue in the Bash. Everything you need is right here to bet on it. First, you need an outright. Let's do that. Hurricanes fours. Generally, they're the favourites. Of course, they are the champions. Sixers next best at 5 generally. Scorchers 5s also 365. Boyle Stars, Betway. Heat 13-2. Ladbrokes Star Sports Coral. Thunder 13-2 generally. Strikers 17-2 with Bet Victor. Stars at 10s with 365. Renegades, Irags 11s. Bet MGM and Virgin Bet. Let's get into it. Richard, you love the Bash. Why?
I love it. Well, look, from a punting point of view, some real familiarity, some sort of real core staple of teams, if you like. You know, the Sixes, Perth Scorchers, their teams have hardly changed over the last few years. So I definitely think that helps. Paul's going to talk about grounds later on, but you kind of know these grounds like the back of our hands now, and I think that really helps. And one thing I've always felt, maybe not so much last year, but in the past, there's always quickly been able to establish a gulf between best and worst. You know, you think of Perth and Sixers, and then a few sides in the middle, and then particularly the Melbourne teams, like really out of it at the bottom. And with the bad teams, and it can be a frustrating watch at time, but you can get some crazy cricket, some real bad beats from winning positions, improbable wins from the likes of Sixers and Perth. And I've had some of my very best wins actually in this competition doing that. I've had some pretty bad moments as well, by the way, with that bad cricket. But like, I'm the sort of punter who I do like to bet contrarian and trade on these T20 matches, and it can be great fun for that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, Rich. It might have been last year or the Bash, the previous one, but I think I seem to recall you getting about 20 or 30 points in a week or something on
Yeah,
bets.
last year wasn't great. The year before was great. We had on this show actually we had Brisbane Heat outright, and yeah, just throughout the tournament there's a lot of with a poor team you can generally get some big price top batsman market winners. People like when Thunder were really poor, Chris Green, Nathan McAndrew were great for them. Will Sutherland used to do it for the Renegades. Last year it didn't seem to work out quite as well, but I love with these poor sides, and look, there have been some real bad sides in this over the years. I think you can get some real angles on them actually, and sometimes just watch and let Sixers do their thing at the top of the show. But when it's bad, it can sometimes pay to get involved.
Paul, talking about getting involved, it's a mad time of the year for cricket betting. We obviously got the Bash starting, the ILT20 is happening. The SA T20 is starting towards the end of the month. We've got India in action, New Zealand West Indies Test match, all covered on the VIP, of course. Something called the Ashes. Any tips, Paul, when it's so hectic like this? You've got to pick your spots. Can you do it all?
No, you can't do it all. Look, first tip: get on the Korean ginseng. Stock up. You're going to need it because there's no sleep for next month. But seriously, what Rich just said teed it up perfectly because you've got to know your strengths. Right now, we're talking Big Bash today. Now, hands on the table. Pre-match, I'm fine in the Big Bash because I've caught up on what's happened before, watched the highlights. But I can't make those in-play decisions at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't do it. I haven't bet in-play on the Big Bash for years because simply, Richard's got kids. He's up first thing in the morning. He's on it. He's all over it, and he's mastered the Big Bash. Me, I'm up all night watching documentaries about the Russian mafia and things. I'm knackered at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't do it. My brain just doesn't function. So I stick to the in-play. So that's it. For the next month, do that. Big Bash, I'm not going to be doing that in play. I'd rather stick to the test matches, really. And I don't mind the old T20. It's a nice time of day. Grounds we know well in the UAE. But this one, for me, is just pre-match. And I would recommend that to anyone. We're going to have times when there's 4 or 5 matches on in the day. You can't do them all. I'd say pick 2, maximum 3.
There you go. Cricket Betting Podcast brought to you by Korean Ginseng. Let's talk about the Bash anyway and housekeeping, how it works. It's your normal sort of franchise style tournament with your top 4 qualifying for an IPL playoff style. 3 overseas players in each of the 11s. Last 5 seasons, the league winner has gone on to win the title. Only 4 winners out of 14 have come outside the top 2 finishing positions in the league. Sixers have finished top 2, 6 of the last 6. Strikers 0 from 7, Renegades 1 from 7, Stars from 1 from 7 in terms of top 2 finishes. That's what we're talking about with Richard alluded to about some very poor teams in this league and some very decent teams. A couple of teams with pedigree in the Bash. So you do have to finish in the top 4. Let's go to Paul Krishnamurty's all-important ground guide now. Top betting lines, Paul, from the venues which we think have the strongest trends.
Okay. So first of all, study sample is the last 5 years, going back to December 2020. Only Big Bash matches. We're looking at 2 indicators, 3 indicators. I'm only going to talk about 2 here, the runs and the sixes. The others would be bat first, bat second. There's not that much going on there in terms of advantage. But so for the first innings runs, we're going to rank them. I'm going to rank them 1 to 9. Okay, so number 1 is Adelaide. That is definitely the best place for high runs. 41% of first innings hit 180, 22% hit 200 plus. That's well ahead of the rest. Second place, solid all round, is the Gabba. 64% first innings hit 160 plus. And it's not necessarily a clue, but that was a good pitch last week, wasn't it, in the Ashes? I think batting conditions could be pretty good this year at Brisbane. Third place, I've got Bellerive, Hobart, and that has a higher 160 plus average. 66% of first innings hit 160. But it's behind the Gabba because only 1 match in 29 has seen 200 in the first inning. So that's more of a middling ground. Fourth place is the Marvel, home to Melbourne Renegades. 62% of first innings go 160. But here, that might be an underestimate because I think if you look over the years, Renegades have been so poor with the bat. I think the average would be higher if it were a better side. Next, we've got the SCG, which has second most amount of 180 first innings. 33% of matches at the SCG see 180 in the first innings. However, this is somewhat conditions dependent. There's a lot of sub 160s as well. So it's kind of make your mind up once you see the overheads. Then you've got 3 very closely matched grounds, all pretty much middling. That's the MCG, Perth, and the Manuka Oval. And then in last place, tailed off last, a long way behind the rest, is the Showground Stadium, home to Sydney Thunder. only 29% of first innings hit 160 plus. Now, on the sixes front, slightly different order. So in top place here, again, by a long, long way, is the Marvel Stadium. 41% of matches here see 15 or more sixes, and only 31% 10 or less, which kind of like lends to what I said before about this might be a bit underestimated on the runs front. This is a good batting track, Marvel. Second place, Adelaide, which was top of the runs. 25% of matches see 15 plus sixes, and only 44% 10 or less. Now, from here, every team, every other ground, the main grounds, has at least 50% of the matches are 10 or fewer sixes, which is quite an angle because I think the line for most games is going to be 11.5, 10.5, maybe 12.5. So most of the time, unders is going to be value here, I think. So third highest ground is Belrive, but only 18% of matches see 15 or more sixes, 54% 10 or fewer. Then we have Perth, 15%, 15 plus. Then the Gabba, back down in fifth, only 12% now, 15 or more sixes. Then the Manuka, the Showground is down at 8%, only 8% of matches, 15 plus, and 75% 10 or fewer. And then these two massive grounds where sixes is it's always an unders bet. The SCG, 76% of games 10 or fewer, and only 5% 15 plus. And in bottom place, because one of the stats, 83% of matches at the MCG come in 10 or fewer sixes. 24 matches out of 29, 17 out of 29, so well more than half coming under 9. So basically the line there has to be 8.5. If it's over 8.5, under his value, and I'm sure we're going to get some games with 9.5, we might even get some 10.5 somewhere.
There you go. The trademarked Paul Krishnamurty ground guide. Six is a strong angle for us, no doubt, throughout the bash. Let's talk about player churn now. Before we get into the team by teams, first thing to say is there's no SAT20 expected departures at the moment. We have players in the arrivals lounge at some point. So that's Sam Curran at Sixers, David Payne at Perth, Lockie Ferguson at Thunder, and Tim David at Sharjah from Sharjah. He's coming from Sharjah to Hobart. This is LT20 arrivals. So we don't know when those players are basically going to turn up. Apart from David, we're pretty sure he's going to be there from the start. Now, the playoffs start January 26th in the bash. So key dates for your diary: Pakistan T20, Sri Lanka versus Pakistan, Jan 7 to 11. Possible exits for Babar Azam at the Sixers, Shaheen Afridi at the Heat, Mohammad Rizwan at Renegade, Shadab Khan at Sydney Thunder, and Ralph at Melbourne Stars. Indian versus New Zealand, white ball, Jan 11 to Jan 31. So Finn Allen at Scorchers, Seifert at Renegades, and Ferguson at Thunder, potentially all going out. England are in Sri Lanka from Jan 22 onwards. So this would potentially put Jamie Overton and Luke Wood both at strikers, and Reham Ahmed at Hobart, and Sam Curran at Sixers out of the playoffs if they were to get there. Australia players coming back in. It does sound as though, fitness permitting, Test players could be available for the last 3 games and the playoffs. And that seems to be benefiting Sixers most of all because they have Smith and Stark. And Stark does not come with an asterisk this time. He has actually said he is going to play for the first time in years. I did see the picture of him last time playing in pink, and he looks 10 years younger. So it probably was 10 years ago. There we go. We're going to go to team by team in a second. But first of all, just let me tell you about the 0% margin feature at 7Bet Sportsbook. Designed to offer betting odds that do not include the typical margin added by the bookmaker. Check out more features on 7bet.co.uk/features. Let's go to this team by team with the bash. We're going to start in reverse price order. So it's Melbourne Renegades. Last 2 years finished 6th and 7th. They're 8th on batting power. That's cumulative strike rate over 2 years. Bowling rank, they are 3rd. That's cumulative economy over the last 2 years. Same filters on your top bat win percentage. It's Seifert winning 30% of the time. And top bowler to follow is Berendorf, 32%, who arrives from Perth. It's a decent signing. Possible 11, Fraser McGurk, Seifert, Brown, Rizwan, Jules, Sutherland, Hassan Khan, the USA all-rounder, Rogers, Berendorf, O'Neill, and Zampa. I did struggle to pick the 11 for this team, which is why it's such a useful exercise when you're trying to work out which teams are balanced and not sure where all the all-rounders are. Did they really need Berendorf because they're well stocked with pacers? Richard, views on where they finish?
Sixth, if you want an exact number. I think they'll finish sixth in the league table, middle to low. Berendorf, excellent signing though, and I think the bowling stacks up pretty well. I think depends what sort of pitches they produce at home, because if they produce seam-friendly pitches, they could do some damage. But the batting last year looked strong on paper, and it didn't fire, did it? Fraser McGurk, Brown was a big name signing, didn't work out. And again, we've been saying this for a few years now about the Renegades. Oh God, they look good on paper, dangerous side on paper, haven't really delivered, and I think it'll probably be rinse and repeat.
Paul, how do they go?
Similar. I mean, interesting signings. Berendorf, obviously. Brendan Doggett as well, because, probably not going to play the whole Test series,
Yeah.
so he might get a few games. And most interestingly, Rizwan. I mean, this is, I think, the most interesting subplot of this Big Bash is these Pakistan signings. Really interesting. Rizwan could do very, very. I don't think this stand in the Big Bash is all that at all. So Rizwan could really do some damage. But he's going to need to, because their batting is poor. It was terrible last season, has generally been for years. And you do need big runs at the Marvel, as I said before. So definitely a line for Renegades for me.
Yeah, as we said there, bottom ranked in terms of batting power. Have you got any sort of in-play strategies, nuggets, Rich, for these Renegades?
Well, Paul's talked about the Docklands. I wonder what sort of pitches they'll produce at home with that same attack. We do get the odd green top at the Docklands. I agree with Paul, but we have had a few green ones over the last few years, particularly first innings anyway. So I'd just be interested to see what pitches they produce early season. Seifert was a standout last year, and I've noticed in the team season run scorer mark with Bet365, he's 8-1. Now I know there's some potential unavailability issues there, but it looks a big price really, considering he was much the best for them last year.
Yeah, Renegades 7-2 favourites to finish bottom generally. There are 11s to win it. Paul, anything to add?
Well, just, that 8-1 Seifert, I didn't know about that. That's a mad price. That's insane if you can get it. Just to repeat, really, about the sixes, good place to do sixes, the Marvel. And I would just say as well, I mean, in the past, their middle orders, I think, has won quite a lot of top backs, like Will Sutherland in particular.
Yes, Will Sutherland. I can give you a live price on Sutherland as we speak, Paul. I'll just let you know that Renegades are 11-1 to win the title. 1 second as I try and find the Sutherland price for you. I think it's a couple of wins. No, it's 2 wins in 18, but 11%. So you might be getting some prices on him on the top bats. We'll keep an eye on that and alert you if the layers make a mistake. Let's move on to Stars, who are 4-1 to finish bottom. They've never won the Big Bash. They came fourth last time and sixth the season before. They're very much middle of the road on your batting and bowling ranks, fifth and fourth respectively. 10-1 to win it. Top bat win rates last 2 years. It's Glenn Maxwell, 29% of the time. Top bowler last 2 years is Sticchetti, 25%. Unfortunately, he has been ruled out of the tournament. That's news has just sort of come through in the last 12 hours or so. So we're going to give you an update on that bowler win rate for you in a second. Possible 11 for you: Campbell, Kellaway, Joe Clark or Harper opening the batting alongside. We've got Harper playing, but he might bat 3. Could bat lower down the order. Maxwell, Stoinis, Cartwright, Tom Cullen, Ralph Swepson, and Siddle. John Mallow perhaps coming in for Steketee. if they want an extra all-rounder. Webster is a huge loss. You'll notice Bo Webster's no longer with the Stars. He's gone to Hobart Hurricanes. Paul, they've never won it. Is this the season?
No. I couldn't be more negative on them, really. They weren't anywhere near good enough before, and the squad is definitely weaker. Stiketti's a huge loss, absolutely huge loss. But also Ben Duckett, they ain't got Ben Duckett this year. 243 runs in 7 games last year. Where would they have been without him? And by Webster, of course. It strikes me that they are totally reliant on Stoinis and Maxwell. And Maxwell had a great season last year, and it wasn't enough. And generally speaking, for me, I think Maxwell's a luxury player. I'd want to be against the team he was in.
Just update on that Stiketti win rate, top bowler, and this highlights why it's such a big miss. There is only 2 players who've won more than twice on top bowler in the last 2 years in the Bash, and one of those is Bo Webster, who doesn't play for him anymore. So problems for the Stars. Stars not aligning, Richard?
No, I don't think so. I think 41 to finish bottom looked pretty fair to me, actually. Paul's right to bring up the Maxwell thing. He averaged 54 last year with about a strike rate of 186. Got them out of some holes on a number of occasions, but he's never been one to back it up, hasn't he? He's very in and out, and if he has a poor season, they'll be absolutely cooked. They really will be. I think they'll struggle, really. Bowling wise, Mick Swepson is an interesting signing. I know that he's 8-1 for top season bowler for them, and with no Siketti, look, 2 years ago, he was one of the big reasons why Brisbane Heat won this competition with spinner in the middle overs. So that looks a bit of value, but overall, I think they'll struggle.
Any other nuggets for Stars going forward, Paul?
Well, just check out that people have got to listen to read the VIP channel this week to get Rich his team by team bets. That's another absolute storming bet, 8-1 on Swepson, who I'd have thought played pretty much every game. And I agree completely 4-1 about finishing bottom, good value price, and to repeat MCG unders on 6s.
I must stress actually that this is very much an alert for listeners because Sketetti, I can't pronounce his name right, is 6-4 favourite with Bet365. So how long that lasts, who knows? But the 8-1 about Swepson or someone else in there as well. I mean, Tom Curran's very handy all rounder, probably ball at the death. He's usually a look actually for top Stars batsmen. Him and Cartwright. I know Cartwright was dreadful last year, wasn't he? But Curran in particular, I do like him at big price in that middle order.
Alrighty, just on Maxwell, if he does get in a funk and he can't seem to get a score, he's spoken in the past, but he just doesn't know how to get out of that rut. So don't expect Maxwell to suddenly come good if he's struggling. Adelaide Strikers the next 17-2 to win it. 4-1 to finish bottom 11. It's Coral Bet, MGM, and Virgin Bet. 8th last season, 4th the season before. They're number 1 for batting rank and they're number 8 for bowling rank. But Paul's kind of already explained why that is. That's because of the Adelaide ground. It's not unsurprising, really, that they would have those numbers because it's such a flat wicket. Your top bat win percentage, top guys in the last 2 years is Matthew Short, 44%. Top bowler last 2 years is Jamie Overton, 28%. Your possible 11 is Jason Sangha, who's arrived from Thunder, who's a good signing. Has had terrible injury problems. Can he put them behind him? Opening batting with Short, Lynn, Ross, Harvey, Jamie Overton, Nielsen, Hassan Ali, Luke Wood, Pope, and Thornton. That's not Ollie Pope, although some would suggest he should be batting down there. It's Lloyd Pope, the spinner. Head and Carey potentially to come back in, but we do say every season, could strikers suddenly make a charge for it? And it doesn't really come off. And Head didn't actually play last season. Carey played 3 games. Another difficult 11 to pick, Richard, I found. Signing 3 overseas players who basically all do the same thing along that spectrum of a sort of bowling all-rounder is really quite something. What are your views?
Yeah, didn't really got recruitment right for a while now, have they? But I tell you what, that top order looks pretty good to me. I mean, Matt Sharp missed a few last year and he had some injury issues, but the year before that, he was unbelievable in this competition. Chris Lynn, I mean, we only have to go back to the T20 Blast in England. He lit up finals day. Sangha agrees a good signing. Top order looks really strong to me. I'm not quite sure where I see these, whether they're contenders or whether they're absolutely not. And so I suspect they'll probably finish somewhere in the middle of that. But the top order in particular is dynamite and loads of experience there as well.
But I mean, Paul, when Adelaide were decent, they had Rashid Khan in the 11 on a flat pitch, and if he would go at sort of 8.5 and over, that would make all the difference. But there is no point of difference now for this Adelaide bowling attack. I just don't really see they're not really doing one thing or the other in reacting to this flat pitch.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I mean, I mean, there's definitely a big imbalance in this side. Completely agree with Rich. Great batting order, really great batting order. Short and Lynn in particular, you really want them. But Alex Ross as well, very good last season. Jamie Overton, very good in the middle order. The bowling's been ordinary. They've got Luke Wood and Hassan Ali, reasonable signings, maybe a slight improvement. I mean, I'm inclined to think the same as Rich. Like, I think they'll finish fourth or fifth. I think they'll get in the playoffs. They're not. It's not impossible to see them winning it, but they're not one of the favourites.
What they might win is the highest team score, and always want to get Richard's view on this. The market lights. They're 13-2. Bet365, Bet MGM, Virgin Bet's the highest team score in the tournament. They did win it last season. Heat and Hurricanes tied the previous season. Rich, any views on that market or something else entirely related to strikers?
No, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because yeah, that's an excellent spot. Just because they're going to obviously play all the home games here at Adelaide, where it's such a good pitch, that gives them a massive advantage. And I think purely on that, 13-2's value, especially if you think Shaw and Lynn are going to stay fit, that's obviously key. They made 2-5-1 last year, I think, against Brisbane Heat. Pretty good attack actually, Brisbane Heats as well. So that was a really good effort. And Paul's obviously took us on the ground, but we had both teams to score once here, 200. We had both teams to score 190 on another occasion, two 180s, and then obviously that 2-5-1. It is a place for runs, isn't it, Paul?
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely the place. I think that's another great angle, 13-2 highest score. I mean, there aren't going to be that many 200 plus scores in the tournament, and you're bound to get one or two here. So
Yeah.
huge value. The one other bet I noticed here, Jamie Overton player performance. He averaged 52 last year in this. So I would imagine that's going to win more games than not. And, decent form for England recently, especially with a bat.
Yeah, it looks absolutely crucial for strikers, Overton. We're still going. Don't forget, Paul and Richard will name the winner of the bash and the runner-up at the end of the show. And more top tips coming on that VIP channel, which you can subscribe to in the comments below. We are in profit on VIP. Let's move on to Sydney Thunder. They're 13-2 to win it. 3-1 to reach the final with BetMGM and VBet. They were the surprise package last season. Despite incredible player churn and fitness issues, there are occasions where they didn't look like they were going to get an 11 out, but they finished third, improving on eighth the previous season. Their batting rank is number 7. Their bowling rank is 5th. David Warner, top rated for top bat last 2 years, 35% at the time. Your top bowler is Tanveer Sangha, 28%. They should line up something like this: Warner, Constance, Bancroft, Davies, Billings, Green, Sams, Shadab, McAndrew, Topley or Ferguson, and Tanveer Sangha. Possible bolter in terms of a lineup. If they want to get rid of Bancroft, I think it might be a bit too slow, and I think that would be smart. Maybe Tom Andrews, Sams, Green, or Shadab getting a sort of pinch hitter role at number 3. Keep an eye on that. Paul, I mean, they've got a lot of number 8s, haven't they? I mean, Green looks a bit higher. I mean, he's batted there before, but what's your view on that balance of that Thunder team, and can they improve on that third place finish?
I don't mind having those sort of, well, you call number eights, but you call number sixes as well. Say Daniel Sams as well, and I mean Shadab could play anywhere really in that. I don't mind that. That gives them a better balance. I mean, they've been pretty reasonable in recent years. They've sort of punched above their weight a lot. I think they seem quite organised and balanced. What would really worry for me is two things. I don't think the bowling is all that, to be honest. I think Shadab Khan's one of the most interesting players in this tournament. He's been good in T20 before, so he could make a big difference. But not excited about the rest. But the other thing is, it's the old David Warner question, isn't it? 405 runs last year when we were all writing him off, right, as being finished. But he is finished sooner or later, isn't he? Right? Was that maybe the last hurrah when he was still relatively fresh off higher standards for cricket? How much has he played in the last year,
Yeah.
And if Warner doesn't produce, then they're in a lot of trouble, I think.
Yeah, it was terrible in the major league in the States. Rich Bayliss, the coach, got him playing last season. Big surprise package. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, he did, and look, excellent white ball coach, brilliant CV. But I'm with Paul on the Warner thing. He did so well last season, excellent as captain, and I think Sam Billings behind the stumps, he's brilliant at marshalling the teams. England could do with a bit of him actually, from what we saw from Jamie Smith this week. But Warner is aging. And sooner or later, he's going to catch up with him. And Billings is batting as well. He was reduced to a bit part player in 100 for the Oval Invincibles or whatever they're called next year, Mumbai, something. He hardly batted. He was pushing himself down the order. And then here he's going to be one of the main men. And I just worry that if Warner doesn't fire, and they won a lot of games last year, by the way, sort of getting those middling scores where Warner would make 60 off 55 balls, start slowly and catch up. And it's a dangerous strategy is that in T20 because you can maybe take 20 balls to get 15. And if you get out, your team are bang under it. And I've got a sneaky feeling that might happen this year.
Anything to add on Thunder, Paul?
Just again, like that could be a value angle taking on Warner, either in the season long markets or match by match. It's a very short price every game. And I'll be looking at what Chris Green and Shadab Khan performance is each game.
Just jumping on what Paul said, I think what you have to do here is you have to take a look first few games, see how Warner's going, and if you think he's struggling, with Constas, by the way, who's had a real struggle, he made 100 in Sheffield Shield, I think, last week, but it's been a terrible run for Constas. And Billings as well, there are some question marks there in that top order, and if you think Warner's struggling, then you say, right, McAndrew, 66 to 1, Chris Green, who's been batting at number 6 sometimes for New South Wales, right, I'm going to try and get some 25s, 33s about him. Sam's maybe if you can get a price. But again, it does centre around Warner because if he's playing well, he's quite selfish. He'll cue the balls up and he'll grind out a score. But if you think he's gone, wide open this market.
Righty, that is the halfway point. A reminder to sub up to that VIP channel for best tips straight to your Telegram channel. Get subbed up as well to crickstats.ai, the ultimate cricket betting tool to uncover the value. Paul and Rich tell you the winner of the bash and finalists at the end of the show. We're going to do the top 4 in the betting now. Obviously, we'll continue with the reverse order. So it is to the hot heat, or perhaps not. The Brisbane Heat, 7th last season, which was some fall from grace considering they won it the previous year. Batting rank is number 3. Bowling rank on economy is number 6, 13 to 2 to win it, 6 to 1 to finish bottom with BetMGM, Virgin Bet. The batter to follow is Nathan McSweeney, 23% win rate. I'm not sure whether you're going to get value on win rate versus oddsman's implied probability, but we'll see. Good bowler to follow, though, last 2 years, rock solid. Xavier Bartlett winning 32% of the time. Spencer Johnson is a major loss to injury. He plays no part in this tournament. And the possible 11 for you is Heat potentially getting Khawaja back as a boost. To open the batting with Munro, McSweeney then at 3, Allsop, Renshaw, Bryant, Michael Neser. Fingers crossed for Heat that he gets back into the action, and Australia don't need him anymore. Wildermuth, Bartlett, Shaheen Afridi, and Matt Kuhneman. Labuschagne, of course, potentially coming back for the last 3 group stages and playoffs. Very, very reliant on Michael Neser, though, Richard, last few years.
Yeah, but it's a pretty good new ball attack, isn't it? With Bartlett in there as well, and obviously Afridi. I mean, I looked initially and thought Johnson, I mean, it is a big loss, but that's still a pretty good pace attack. And they've had that for the last few years. The year they won it, it was built on a brilliant new ball attack. I do think the ball side's out. I'm just not quite as convinced by the batting, to be honest. I mean, Khawaja coming back looks a good thing on paper, but really, I'm not sure. He might just take up a place at the top of the order. He looks shot to pieces to me.
Paul, I'm going to call it. I suspect Heat leave you cold, and you might think they'll finish bottom.
No,
All right.
far from it. Far from it. I think they're contenders.
Okay.
Look, I've liked them. Their attitude in recent years. They just seem like a good organised team. They struggled last year, but they had a lot of changes, promotions to the international squads, and you had things like, I mean, they lost Josh Brown, and then Colin Munro had a really terrible season, but he's played well since in the CPL, so hopefully better from him. Khawaja's a big question. You know, if he is gone, obviously that's a big problem, but he might thrive in this much lower standard of cricket. And if he does, I think they've got a great chance. I think Shaheen Afridi is an amazing signing, brilliant signing, and could be a class above at this level, and also contributes with the bat as well. Afridi, good here at the death. So I think they're contenders. I think they're top 3.
Yeah, I know Paul so well, you see. Nuggets for Heat, Richard.
Oh, well, I'm happy that you've got Jack Wildermuth potentially playing in the 11. I really rate him all rounder, and I don't understand why he hasn't played the last few years, but he's been a good nick domestic cricket. People will look at his bowling, but he can bat, you know, he can really bat. And if he goes under the radar early season, Wildermuth, sort of 7, 8, might bat ahead of Nice, so I'm not too sure. I'm hoping for some big prices, but he'll be some value. You know, they're hard to land out of these top batsman markets down the order at big prices. But I tell you, I think we'll get some wrong prices about Wildermuth.
Yeah, this is a tournament for wrong prices. Sorry, Paul.
Sorry, no, you're all right. You're right, absolutely. It's probably the best tournament of the year for all that, for wrong prices. Look, I don't know much about these 2 players, so I'm calling on your wider expertise if you know them, or listeners. But Hugh Wegben and Lachlan Hearn both get good write-ups as good prospects. 2 young batsmen they've signed. And again, great bowling attack. If they could just add one more quality batsman in there, Munro would get fit of form, Khawaja thrive at this level, I think they'd have a really big chance.
Yeah, Webgen from Thunder. I had a look at a bit of him, some of his numbers. It looks like a first-class player to me. Same with Lachlan, actually. So it's going to be a big leap for them to be top of the order, I think, and striking at the sort of numbers that they need to win games for their team. That's not to say that they don't occupy the crease and, you know, strike about 113, 115 and win a top bat, though. You don't have to be taking huge risks to win a top bat. We don't mind that at all. Can we move on from Heat? I think we can. We've got the Scorchers next. 5-1 to win it, 21-10 with 3-6-5 to make the final. 5th last season, 3rd the season before. They're number 6 on batting power. The most economical team in the Bash in the last 2 years. That's perhaps no surprise. Top bat player to follow is Inglis, winning 25% of the time. Richard Mann informed me before we came on the show that Morris, who was the top pick on bowler, with a 29% win rate, is out. So let's give you a possible 11. Finn Allen, the Kiwi, who we've already mentioned, could be in and out. Mitch Marsh is a major boost from Connolly. I think this is going to be a big season of Connolly. Laurie Evans, Hardy Turner, Hobson, Agar, Richardson, David Payne. Then with no Morris, it'll be Joel Paris, Brodie Couch, potentially. Marley Beardman's also been talked up, so one of those 3. Matthew Kelly, another one who could come into the team. They've got so many pace options. Perth always have done. They have lost Berendorf, which is a blow, though. Um, Paul, the ultimate pedigree team, aren't they? Perth. Are they going to improve after a bit of a spell in the doldrums? The balance looks pretty good.
I'm not convinced that they are the pedigree side. You never write them off, but they've lost Berendorf. That's a big loss. Josh Inglis has been critical to this side over the years. He's in the international setup now. Um, they've lost, so Lars Morris is out. And I read there's a question mark over Andrew Tye as well. So the bowling could be quite hit here. Marley Beardman was in the Australian side, wasn't he, recently? So presume that he'll be stepping up. Not ruling them out at all, but not for me. I think they haven't. If anything, they're going to go backwards or they'll stay where they were last year.
Rich, views from you. I mean, no Berendorf, no Morris in terms of top bowler. That is the last 2 years. That is 62% of the win rate gone like that. Joe Richardson has played only 12 games over the last 2 years. Injury problems for him. Can he stay fit? He's going to need to. What are your thoughts?
Don't take me down negative town, Ed. These are mine. These are mine this year. I've really come around to them this weekend. The bowling's took a hit, and it's always been the strength, so it is concerning. But Richardson, by all accounts, he's fully fit again. He only played 5 games last year. Uh, got a good spin with Agar and Connolly. They do probably need to find a pacer, but Brodie Couch, I was looking at his domestic form for Western Australia. He's bowled really well, and obviously they've got experience of David Payne, who I don't actually think is a world beater. You are banking on someone coming up and stepping in like Beardman, but I mean that's just been the Scorchers' way over the last few years. But the batting, I think it's the strongest batting lineup in the competition. Mitch Marsh have been absolutely superb for Australia across white ball forms in this last year. He'd be like a new signing for them. Finn Allen can just do what he wants up top. He'll just go bang from ball one because there's so much depth. I agree with you. I think big year for Connolly. Got Laurie Evans back. He may be a bit long in the tooth, but 2 years ago he was sensational for them in this competition. They'd have probably won it actually that year had he not gone away. I think it was to the ILT20. Then I mean Hardy's down at 6. I mean he's been phenomenal in this competition. Ashton Turner too. The batting to me, I mean we've got Agar down at number 8. That's serious depth. Always a tough nut to crack at home as well. So you think you can bank good points there. For me, that they're probably the most solid outfit, and I know I usually go bowling first, but the batting just looks incredible.
Any other biz for Perth, Paul?
The one thing I'll be keeping an eye on, Cooper Connolly, player performance, average 48 last year.
Rich?
Yeah, well, Cooper Connolly 14 over, and again, it's just with 365. More firms will price up this, but he's 14 overall, top tournament batsman. I could see it being his year. Mitch Marsh is 12s as well, actually, and he'll play all season. If you think they're going to go well, those are two interesting prices. You might get a little bit bigger when everyone else has priced up.
I was just going to say
Nice.
as well, if we're looking at this team by team stuff as it comes out this week, surely given all these bowling problems, Marley Beardman's got to be worth a look.
You'd be
He could well
interested.
be priced.
Yeah, very interesting to see how he's priced. Another thing I want to say, sorry, I did forget. Paul's gone through the ground, guys, but one thing that is always good at Perth, it's very good for strong finishes here. So it can be tough up front, and particularly when you're facing Perth's strong seam attack. They can take early wickets, but it's not particularly easy to defend at the death because if you pitch the ball up, it's a real short hit. And we've seen some really strong finishes here over the years. You think last year Melbourne Renegades pulled off a ridiculous run chase here last year when essentially dead and buried, and Will Sutherland got them over the line, batting with the tail. Sydney Thunder, Fane Rutherford, do you remember him smacking? I think it was about 18 off the last over. It's a good ground for late finishes, particularly if there's been early wickets, because obviously the line's dropped dramatically. Generally, he's a good pitch once you get through that new ball. Don't tell England that though.
uh, well, there you go. Richard's given the game away early, but Perth likely to be his pick. I think they're certainly going to be in the final, according to Richard. We've got 2 teams still to go. It's the Sydney Sixers next. They're 5-1 to win. 2s to reach the final with Ladbrokes, Bet MGM, VBet, and Coral. second on the ladder last season. The previous year they were runners-up, fourth for batting rank, second on bowling rank. Henriques, 25% win rate on top bat. Is your man to follow. Sean Abbott, 40%. That's the best in the competition, top bowler. Has had a niggle, of course, missed out on that Ashes squad, so his fitness is one to check on. Possible 11 for you. Babar, Hughes, Josh Philippe, Sam Curran, Jordan Silk, Henriques, Kerr, Edwards, Abbott, Dwarshuis, Murphy, Stark for the last 3 group games and finals. Steve Smith potentially as well. We know Babar could leave, but Steve Smith's not a bad replacement. And as Paul said, somebody like Babar Azam, not really on our T20 radar a lot of the time, but this is not a quality competition and he should do very well. So they have pedigree, Richard. I mean, actually 13 to 20 to make the top 4. Got no doubts about balance. Could get stronger. Going to be hard to stop.
Well, they are solid out there. Look, you would think they'll definitely finish top 4. I've had worries for a few years that it might just be an aging side now and that we might have seen the best of them. I actually don't think Baba's a good replacement for James Vince, just in this situation because Vince has been so good for them over the years. But it's interesting when you talk about those international players coming back. You would think the core group that they've kept together will get them so far that then Stark and Smith can take over that mantle. I think if you're backing them, even as a trade, you think they'll get far enough. And then obviously when the big boys come back, they are going to be very dangerous.
Paul, your views on Sixers?
I'm a big fan, been a big fan of them for years. Really like the way they're organised, the way they're set up. They're a quality pedigree side. I agree with what Rich said there about Vince. I mean, Babar Azam should have a good tournament. I mean, personally, I think he's on the downgrade, but he's still class at this level. But James Vince got 228 runs in 6 games last year, so no mean feat emulating him. But they've got a cracking squad. I think their record speaks for itself. I think they'll definitely be in the shake-up at the end. And then you get Smith and Stark at the end, so they're the team to beat for me.
Ways to play, Richard?
Well, I've given up on Jack Edwards as an opener. I got big prices about him a few occasions last year when he did go up to open when Hughes got injured and it just didn't work out. He's run out one game when going to win. But he's a really good cricketer, Jack Edwards. Big price in the middle order. I'll probably follow him. Another thing that the Sixers have always done, win close games. Brilliant team to trade. Beat Thunder on the last ball last year. Beat Strikers by 3 wickets with the ball to spare as well. So they're generally good at getting up in close games. And when they're behind the 8 ball, that's usually the time to back them. So it's a rock solid side.
Paul?
Well, 2-1 to reach the final, to win it. I will put something up on the channels this week about naming the finalists. I like that market a lot because I think there's quite a gulf between the sides. And I already mentioned unders on 6s at the SCG.
Righty, Hobart Hurricanes. Your champions, they won it last season, and they came from 5th the previous season to do it. 4-1 to win it, 13-8 for another final with Ladbrokes and Coral. Number 2 on batting power, number 7 on bowling rank. That is very interesting because we're going to talk about that bowling lineup at the moment. It looks incredibly strong. Rehan Ahmed apparently has gone home already. He was on the Lions tour with a leg strain. So the possible 11 for you could look like this. Matthew Wade also a little bit of a niggle. Mitch Owen also got a hamstring injury as well at the moment. So this is an 11 which we think is going to be their first choice. So Owen Wade opening the batting, McDermott, Tim David, Bo Webster, massive sign, Nikhil Chowdhury, who, if you've been listening to this show for a long time, we called him being a player to watch and he's won big prices on the markets. Rehan Ahmed would have made our 11, but we've got Rashad Hussain in this team now instead. Jordan, Meredith, Ellis, and Stan Lake completing the lineup. They look even stronger than last season after they've signed Webster. Paul, power all the way through, expertise at the depth with the ball. Can you get them beat?
Well, you just mean, I mean, I agree. They're incredibly strong on paper. You did just mention a few injuries, niggles, key players. So that's one thing. I mean, let's not forget this team absolutely wrecked the franchise pedigree theory last year. A team that never always underachieved and they just walked away with it. Um, so I'm just going to try and get them beat. And I think we've got with Sixers a good alternative, but you can't really argue with the strength of that squad. Webster's a brilliant signing. I think Richard Hussein, great signing, really cracking signing. They've got, and they're in the picture 100%, although I'm just not going to make them favourites because of Sixers' greater consistency.
Rich, do they just stroll into the final with that lineup?
I think if they play the best game, they're going to get to the final. They are going to be very hard to beat. The nagging doubt in the back of my mind, if Paul talked about pedigree, but it's also about someone like Mitch Owen and Tim David. They had, well, Owen in particular had an unbelievable year last year. But whether he's a high percentage cricketer, I'm not yet sure. Whereas you look at the Sixers and they're going to just put in that sort of 8 out of 10 every week out there, every game. And I just wonder if Owen can back it up and if David's that type of cricketer as well. That's the nagging doubt when you're backing them as favourites. But my God, if it clicks, 1 to 11, it is an extremely strong team. They've got big runs in them, particularly away from home, because they've got so much batting power.
Any other plays, Paul, for Hobart?
Well, look, to me, the really interesting thing there is the power in that middle order. It's tremendous. David, Owen, Jordan the great Chowdhury, now Webster as well. So certainly late overs in games, particularly on suitable grounds. They averaged over seven sixes per game last year, which is way above the Big Bash average. So I suspect it will be priced accordingly, but that is the thing to look on. Hobart sixes in games or to win most sixes against certain teams.
And Rich?
Yeah, probably similar thing. I'm really interested to see the sort of lines with this team though, because I do wonder if I layer it as a layer, if you can get the line high enough. And if they went somewhere in challenging conditions, the sort of players that they have, it's very all or nothing, isn't it? And I do wonder if there's a case, look, I'm not against them at all, but if it's a case where you might get an extreme unders up with this team in the right conditions, because their line, Paul, surely it's going to be high because you're going to be fighting stiff of David, of Owen and Wade and McDermott and all these hitters. But if someone can get them on a challenging pitch somewhere, maybe a lot. I'm not against them at all. I think, they're going to go very deep.
Righty, 7bet special offer for you. Bet £10, get a £10 free bet with the promo code WFB10. That's your first deposit of a minimum £10 stake. £10 free bet, minimum odds, even money. Max winnings 100 quid, 5-day expiry, bonus T's and C's apply. It is that time. It is name the winner and name the winner up of the Big Bash on the Cricket Betting Podcast. Richard Mann, we think we know who you're going to say, but who are they beating?
Yeah, Perth Scorchers, and I'm just going for Hobart Hurricanes to finish runner-up.
Paul Krishnamurty.
Sydney Sixers to beat Brisbane Heat in the final.
There you go. There are your picks for the Big Bash. This has been the ultimate betting guide to the Big Bash. We are back in your ears and on your YouTube screens for a third Ashes Test preview podcast. It records Saturday night. It is the ultimate betting guide to the third Ashes Test from Adelaide. This has been the Cricket Betting Podcast. Don't forget to sub up to that VIP channel in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.